So this is the fourth section of our lecture, and we are going to discuss subdural and epidural hematomas caused by traumatic brain injuries. In this section, we will talk about acute subdural hematoma, epidural hematoma, and chronic subdural hematoma. We will see how we can differentiate an acute subdural hematoma from a chronic one, and how we can differentiate a subdural hematoma from an epidural hematoma. So both these types of hematomas, they have a characteristic clinical and imaging feature. They're difficult to determine the relative contribution of each component to the clinical state because the mass effect and the raised ICP can be life-threatening in both of these hematomas. First of all, we will see what is an acute subdural hematoma. A clot of blood that develops between the surface of the brain and the dura mater, usually due to stretching and tearing of veins on the brain surface. So this basically involves the veins. It occurs due to direct cranial trauma, but it may be minor, and a direct cranial trauma may not be required for acute subdural hemorrhage, especially in elderly patients or those who are taking anticoagulants. Acceleration forces alone, such as a concussion or that occurs from a whiplash, are sufficient to cause an acute subdural hematoma. The clinical signs of acute subdural hematoma: in 1/3 of the patients, lucid interval is present, lasting from minute to hours before coma intervenes. The patient might experience unilateral headache. There will be slightly enlarged pupil on the side of hematoma. If the patient is experiencing stupor or coma, hemiparesis, or unilateral pupillary enlargement, these are the signs of large bilateral hematomas. If the patient is exhibiting acute symptoms, you should perform a burr or drainage hole and an emergency craniotomy in order to relieve the pressure. What is a subacutely evolving syndrome? It occurs days or weeks after the injury. The patient might experience drowsiness, headache, confusion, mild hemiparesis, and especially in alcoholics, elderly, or after minor trauma, we can see a subacutely evolving syndrome. How do we diagnose it? An acute subdural hematoma. These are basically crescentic collections over convexity of one or both hemispheres, as you can see in this diagram. Most commonly, they are found in the frontotemporal region and less often in the inferior middle fossa or over the occipital poles. Interhemispheric, posterior fossa, or bilateral convexity hematomas are less frequent. They are difficult to diagnose clinically, but they can be detected if the patient is drowsy or if he's exhibiting some neurologic signs from damage to that particular area of the brain. Bleeding is usually venous in origin in case of a subdural hematoma, but it might be arterial. Now, if we talk about an epidural hematoma, it evolves more rapidly and it is more treacherous. 10% of the cases of severe head injury constitute of epidural hematomas. Patients are usually unconscious when they are first seen, but the lucid interval is characteristic of epidural hematoma. A lucid interval of around several minutes to hours before coma intervenes is characteristic. And in case of an epidural hematoma, rapid surgical evacuation and ligation or cautery of the damaged vessel is very essential. And epidural hematomas usually result from damage to the artery, in particular the middle meningeal artery. The middle meningeal artery usually gets lacerated by the overlying skull fracture, and its rapid surgical ligation is required in order to protect the patient's life. Now, moving on to the chronic subdural hematoma, a subacutely evolving syndrome due to subdural hematoma that occurs days or weeks after the injury with drowsiness, headache, confusion, or mild hemiparesis, often after only minor or unnoticed trauma, is also known as a chronic subdural hematoma. It occurs in alcoholics or elderly and appear as crescentic clots over the convexity of one or both hemispheres. They are also most common in the frontotemporal region. In case of a chronic subdural hematoma, you will find a history of trauma may or may not be elicited, as in the case of acute subdural hematoma, in which mild trauma may or may not be essential to cause an acute subdural hematoma. Injury may have been trivial or forgotten. The patient might experience a headache. Now, features that appear weeks later, that those features are slowed thinking, vague change in personality, seizures, or a mild hemiparesis. These are all the features that appear late in the course of a chronic subdural hematoma due to damage to the brain. Now, if we talk about bilateral chronic subdural hematomas, they produce perplexing clinical syndromes, and the initial presentation may be of a stroke, a brain tumor, drug intoxication, depression, dementing illness, drowsiness, inattentiveness, or incoherence of thought. In all these signs, features are more prominent as compared to the focal signs such as hemiparesis. There will be brief episodes of hemiparesis or aphasia, but it is very rare in case of bilateral chronic subdural hematomas. It is indistinguishable from a transient ischemic attack. Patients with undetected bilateral subdural hematomas have low tolerance for surgery, anesthesia, and drugs because drowsiness and confusion persists for longer periods of time postoperatively. How do we diagnose a chronic subdural hematoma? CT without contrast should be performed. Initially, we will find a low density mass over the convexity of hemisphere. After 2 to 6 weeks, or between 2 to 6 weeks, the clot will isodense and it will be similar to the brain tissue, the surrounding brain tissue. There will be areas of blood and intermixed serous fluid after several weeks or after 6 weeks. And hypernormal CT scan will be found in elderly patients with fullness of cortical sulci and small ventricles. Infusion of contrast material. In order to enhance the vascular fibrous capsule, we infuse a contrast material. And MRI is also performed in order to diagnose a chronic bilateral hematoma. How do we treat these subdural and epidural hematomas? Glucocorticoids in case of a minimally symptomatic chronic subdural hematoma can be used. There are fibrous membranes that grow from dura and cover the fluid and make a cavity. In order to prevent that fluid accumulation, we have to perform surgical evacuation and remove all those membranes. Small hematomas resorbed, leaving organizing membranes. They do not require any surgical evacuation. Now, what are very chronic subdural hematomas? They are difficult to distinguish from hygromas on imaging because these are basically collections of CSF from a rent in arachnoid membrane. So this was all about acute subdural hematoma, epidural, and chronic subdural hematoma. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.